Hi, welcome back to another episode of Figs Talks Fights. I'm your host, Brian Figueredo, and today we're going to get into the unfortunate, fortunate, we don't know yet news of UFC 249 being officially scrapped. It's canceled. It's not happening as scheduled for April the 18th, which would be just a week and a couple of days from now on Saturday, April 18th. So let's get into it. First of all, if you've been watching any of my videos previously, okay, before the coronavirus or COVID-19 started really taking its grasp here in Canada and the United States, I was wondering, what are we doing? I'm just seeing everybody get into mass hysteria and everyone's just going absolutely nuts. The whole toilet paper hoarding shit, okay? I quickly changed my mind as I started to do some research, and shit really got quick, fast. I mean, here at home, I'm seeing cases between people I know, all right? I know people who have lost family members due to this. So, how do I put this? I was against UFC 249 going forward. Okay, considering we're in the midst of a pandemic and no real expert has any grasp on it yet, I just didn't see how they were going to pull this off. But I mean, Dana White in the last week has really pulled some freaking hats out of his ass with a private island. He had a station casino on a native reserve in California booked to take care of this card. Khabib, he's stuck in Russia. Okay, they figured out a great replacement with Justin Gaethje taking his place for the interim title with Tony Ferguson. Every concern that I had, were all of them met? No. But I mean, I was beating a dead horse. It was pretty obvious people wanted to see the fight card go down. They didn't care about safety or regulations, which should be the ultimate thing. Because look, I love this sport. Mixed martial arts, I fucking love this sport. I live for this shit, okay? I love every aspect of it. I love the heart. I love the athleticism. I love just people going out there and truly testing themselves. If you've been involved in any shape or form of unarmed combat in your life and you've got to feel your spirit and what you are made out of, it is an unbelievable thing. You will find out who the hell you are when your lungs are burning and your heart is pumping and you feel tired and you just need to keep going. So many things I love about this sport. I love it so much that I am willing to wait just a little bit longer. So what really brought ahead the cancellation now, as it stands right now, okay, we are, I believe the date is April the 9th. And as of today, it's showing that Disney and ESPN were taking too much heat for this. They decided, no mas. It was time to just scrap it all together. Now, I know if anybody could have pulled this off, all right, Dana White has done the unthinkable a zillion times over. Whether there's been ethics involved or not, there's no evidence to support that nothing unethical has happened in the past, and I mean substantial evidence. Of course, there's rumors afloat, and behind closed doors, look, I don't give a shit what organization you are. Dirty shit happens behind closed doors in every single organization, especially your own government. But anyhow, nonetheless, seems like he at least addressed some things with, you know, all fighters, staff, production crew getting tested for COVID-19 before travel, after travel, during fight week, before the fight. I mean, seemed like he had it figured out with, you know, even though there's a shortage of doctors and hospital beds in the United States right now, as far as I have been told, he figured out a way to have doctors and hospital beds just waiting aside, okay? Were they prepared for absolutely every single scenario from what they presented to the general public? No. Are there things that they've thought of that we're asking that they're taking care of behind closed doors? Look, that remained to be unseen, but who knows? But what the hell? I mean, what are we going to do moving forward? We're going to just get on with it. There's going to be great fights coming up no matter what. Okay, I love the Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje fight in general. But with Khabib and Tony waiting 5.5 years to see this fight, just to save some fucking fight card that really we couldn't even get regulated. They were going to self-regulate at an Indian reserve or a native reserve, if I should say, and then have a bunch of fights taking place weekly on a private island. I mean, it didn't really sound A-okay and legitimate to the highest of levels, which is what the UFC is known for. It sounded like they needed a schedule to fill, they have contracts to fulfill, okay, and they have revenue that they need to receive from contracts through ESPN, and they need content for it. Who knows, maybe they can just replay some old fights. Most of the fight fans that I know aren't even thinking about this shit anyway. So any excuses that there's nothing else on TV, this is going to be a blockbuster, I don't think there's any evidence to support that whatsoever. Would I have watched the fight? I mean, even if they were just going right against any regulation and they were going, we might COVID test a few people with symptoms, but probably not everybody. At the end of the day, at the last minute, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I probably would have watched the fight card anyways. I love this shit. In the last 15 years, I've missed maybe 3 fight cards. One of them was my wedding day. Okay? Even 3 days after my son was born. Bam! I was watching fight cards immediately, okay? I love this sport. Am I going through a bit of MMA withdrawal? I mean, there's more important things we have to think about right now, like taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other, looking out for everybody else in their best interest. Anyhow, back to my point as I babbled off from, Khabib versus Tony. Look, Justin Gaethje had a very legitimate chance of knocking Tony out. Tony Ferguson is a slow starter. He's one of these guys that, I mean, as soon as the elastic gets warm, it can bend and go faster and harder, okay? But Tony gets hit early in fights and often in the beginning of fights. Who the fuck is going to target your chin better than a Justin Gaethje, all right? Is it possible that we could have seen Gaethje fade in this fight and Tony take over? Sure, but it's just as possible that Gaethje could have just knocked this whole must-see fight between Khabib and Tony Ferguson just right out of the picture by turning off Tony Ferguson's consciousness within the first round, even the second round. Justin Gaethje's a very dangerous, legitimate contender. So what to do moving forward? You know what? Relax. And let's see how this thing plays out, okay? I heard that they're going to pay the fighters that were going to show up to the fight card next week at least all of their show money, right? Doesn't mean that they're only getting half paychecks. Those who would have got a win bonus are not getting it. No fight of the night bonuses. But I mean, if they have a private island that they're building infrastructure on, I mean, Luke Thomas said, why not just take that money and just pay it out to the fighters that were scheduled to be on cards for the next few months. I understand in the United States there's some sort of a government compensation that's being available to independent contractors. Would fighters fall under that term? I'm not sure or not, but like if the UFC has money to build more money, take care of your fighters in the interim, okay? A lot of companies and a lot of businesses and organizations are going to be judged on how they treat people during this pandemic. Is your work giving you a shit ton of pressure and putting themselves first over yourself? I mean, companies like that, there's a lot of them that are going to survive and prosper afterwards, but a lot of them are not going to make it through this. They're not. I mean, cash flow is king in every organization. But I mean, we have to be looking after each other first and foremost. Businesses need to survive. People need to survive. All right, and we can do without MMA for just a little bit longer. If I can just feel completely guilt-free knowing that everything is legitimate, everything is on par, commissions are behind it, then let's feel a little bit more comfortable at a later date. I mean, fuck, if you watch this fight back, or these fights in the mid-2000s, there was only a fight card every month, including a fight night. Pay-per-views were once every 6 weeks, to 2 months, sometimes even 3 months apart. I think even in 2005, they only had maybe like 5 pay-per-views, or pardon me, even 2004. They only had like 4 or 5 pay-per-views the entire year. We can survive this. All right? There's so many questions unanswered too. Training camps. Where were fighters going to get into good training camp? The gym I train at, I can't go there yet. I can't go there until at least this shit is not only not new numbers are showing up, but there's an absolute existential proof that we are ahead of this virus, disease, COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever the hell kind of name you want to come up for it, that we're getting past it and lives are not being as threatened as much as they are today. Okay? Was I looking forward to this? Yes. But I'm looking forward to, maybe we can do this at the end of May, maybe June, maybe July, who the hell knows? Dana White, that guy is a fighter at heart. Let him figure it out. But obviously people got in the way because they were worried about bad press. And if something went wrong, everything that this sport has fought for in the last nearly 20 years, going to regulation, it would have all been for naught. So, did we dodge a bullet? Who the hell knows? But no gunfires are going to be happening for a bullet to even be dodged at, let alone hit. So instead of being all pissy and down upon it, look, if you have your health right now, you're doing a hell of a lot better than a lot of people. So let's just be grateful and let's keep going back and watching old fights. There's still a ton out there. And if you're even a newer fan of MMA and could just give less a shit, start giving a shit about this sport, go to Fight Pass, get a $9.99 subscription, and just watch every Pride, Strikeforce, UFC, WEC, Cage Warrior fights you can get your hands on. There's some great shit out there that has happened in the past, and there's going to be great, incredible fights in the future too. But at the moment, let's all take care of ourselves, each other, be well, and first and foremost, let's do the right thing. So Dana White, do the right thing. Pay the fucking fighters. Stop the infrastructure project on a private island somewhere. Give that money to the fighters so that they can sustain. So that they can afford a training camp when all this shit is over and we can get the best healthy versions of them. That's it. Not much more for me to add. But if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. Nonetheless, if you liked what I had to say, subscribe to the channel. If you want to give it a thumbs up, sure. If you don't like what I had to say, fuck, that's your opinion. No problem. Take it. Give me a thumbs down. Who gives a fuck? If we're all healthy, who cares? All right? Thank you very much once again. Until next time.